The atheists of the olden days were scholars who worked very hard, who studied, who read all the texts. They knew everything there was to know about the belief in God, and they rejected it. Now, that's an atheist. The atheist says to God, we used to need you, but we don't need you anymore. Because anything you can do, we can do now. We have technology. So God says, really? Can you create a man out of dust? And he says, yes, we have the technology. We can do that. God says, let me see you do it. So he starts to gather up some dust, and God says to him, no, not my dust. We have all the technology, but all the raw material is not ours. I thought that was a very funny joke because it starts off with, the atheist said to God. It's also like back in Europe, this guy became an atheist, and they asked him, what happened? He says, it wasn't easy. He says, I was raised religious, I was raised with... So it wasn't easy, but I worked at it. I tried really hard, and Baruch Hashem, I became an atheist. Did you notice that atheism is becoming more popular? You didn't hear about it very much 20 years ago. If someone was an atheist, he had nothing to say. What do you believe? Nothing. So you're quiet. Now all of a sudden, being an atheist is a religion. They write books, they have organizations, they're becoming very religious. In fact, they're becoming fanatical. Fanaticism has become the rage. Everybody is fanatical about something, about politics, about health, about science, about the environment, about themselves. Fanaticism, it's everywhere. There's no flexibility. Everything is absolute. And that's not nice because fanaticism used to belong to the religious. How dare you take that from us? Today, the least fanatical people are the religious ones. Isn't that amazing? Plagiarism. We invented fanaticism. How dare you? And we always got criticized for being fanatical. Now all those who criticized are the fanatics. So let's take a look at what atheism really is. It's not really a long topic for an hour's conversation. It's a very simple thing. If you really press the atheist, do you really not believe that there is any kind of a God? None? If you press them long enough, they will confess. And they have to. They will say, look, I don't know. I don't know for sure that there is no God, just like you can't know for sure that there is a God. So if I'm critical of you for thinking there is, I got to be critical of me thinking there's not. Because how would anybody ever know? So why do I call myself an atheist? What I'm trying to say is, I am not willing to put all my hopes in one basket. So it's not I'm convinced there's no God. I am terrified of putting my trust in something or someone because what if I'm wrong? That's really what atheism is today. The atheists of the olden days were scholars who worked very hard, who studied, who read all the texts. They knew everything there was to know about the belief in God, and they rejected it. Now, that's an atheist. Today's atheists really don't know anything. So what makes them atheists? Insecurity. Can't put all my trust in one place. Well, what does that do to your marriage? You got to be a little atheistic about your marriage too. Can't put all your trust in one person. So really, the atheism of today is the result of having been lied to. The embarrassment, the egg on your face, when you realize that what you were told is not true and what you believed is false. Well, you never want to risk that again. So you become an atheist. So atheist today is exactly the same as cynic. What is cynicism? What is cynicism? It's not an opinion. Cynicism means I refuse to have an opinion because I can't afford to be wrong. So I'm cynical, which means no opinion. You can never catch me being wrong because I never have an opinion about anything. Whatever I hear, I laugh it off. Maybe. Safe. That brings us to today's topic. The need to feel safe. It's a disease. It's an unhealthy development. The need to feel safe. To find a safe place. To run away to a safe place. Life was much more difficult and much more dangerous a generation ago, and nobody needed a safe place. So what actually has happened? What is happening to our world? Where are we going? And how is this all going to resolve itself? It turns out that the most fundamental question that a human being has, which must be answered in order to be able to live a productive life, the most fundamental question is, why? Why am I here? If we don't have at least a partial answer to that question, we're completely dysfunctional. If I don't know why I'm here, then I really don't understand why I'm suffering. What justifies my suffering? And who doesn't suffer? You wake up in the morning and you're worried about what the day is going to bring. You're suffering. How do you justify that? It's not an exaggeration, and it's a really frightening thing. Somebody comes to me and says, I'm suicidal. I want to kill myself. What do you say? What do you say to someone to discourage them or dissuade them from killing themselves? What? It seems like the most rational thing to do. Why not? So I had this little experience where a 14-year-old kid in Minnesota attempted suicide with a friend. They put him into the psych ward for evaluation. And the psych ward is like a little prison because you got some dangerous people up there. They're being evaluated as to whether they should be sent for treatment or to the electric chair, so to speak. A 14-year-old kid in that ward is scary. Scary thought. And nobody's allowed to visit. It's a dangerous place. I mean, you have to have clearance. So the mother of this child could not visit. And he was there for 48 hours. The only people who are allowed to visit are clergy. So the mother calls me and asks me if I would visit the boy and see how he's doing. I've been up there a few times. It's not a place you want to go. But the thought of a 14-year-old being there, I agreed to go. So I come up, I get out of the elevator on the 6th floor, double bar doors. It's literally a prison. I walk out of the elevator just in time to see 2 nurses wrestle a guy to the ground and put him in handcuffs. And everybody else is standing around shrieking like banshees. I run off to the kid's room. He's lying back in bed like he was in camp. He hears the screaming. It doesn't disturb him at all. I try to make some conversation. He's not interested. Doesn't want to talk to me. He doesn't look up from the thing that he was reading. I said, "Your mother asked me to come see how you're doing." He shrugs. I said, "She's worried about you. What should I tell her?" He shrugs. I try this, that. He's not interested. Till finally he says, "Why don't you go home? The chaplain has already been here." The hospital chaplain visits everybody. I said, "What did the chaplain say?" He says, "Something stupid." I said, "Where? What did the chaplain say that was stupid?" He says, "The chaplain said I shouldn't kill myself because God loves me." I said, "That's stupid?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "I agree. I can't imagine God loves you. You're an obnoxious brat." He looks up. He says, "Yeah." I said, "God created you. Obviously, he needs you. Because there's something you can do for him that nobody else can. So he's kind of stuck with you. I don't think he likes you." The boy says, "Well, what if I don't want to do what he created me for?" I said, "That's called freedom of choice. He gives you freedom of choice. So you have to decide. You want to or you don't want to. Take a position." It didn't go much further than that. So I went home. But I learned something really, really fundamental. It was stupid of the chaplain to say that. When a 14-year-old tries to kill himself, what is he telling you? He is saying in the loudest voice that he can, he is saying, "I'm not necessary." So, okay, 14 years, enough. What's the difference? Now the chaplain comes along and says, "Oh, no, don't kill yourself. God loves you." He is in effect saying to this boy, "You're right. You're not necessary. But God loves you." And to this boy, as young as he was, that's stupid. If I'm not necessary, what is he loving? What is wrong with God? And also, no thanks. You want me to hang around, live a life, go through all of the difficulties and all of the challenges so that God can love me? What am I, his pet? Now, a gerbil is really not necessary. But they're cute and furry and fluffy, and you love your pet. You don't need your pet. And that's okay with the gerbil. It's not okay with a human being. It turns out that human beings need to be needed much more than they need to be loved. Love is the icing. Being needed is the cake. Love is the sizzle. Being needed is the steak. We desperately, truly, deeply need to be needed. And therefore, we need to know what we're needed for. Everything else is commentary. Viktor Frankl created an entire school of psychoanalysis based on this principle. If you have a meaning, if your existence is necessary, you can survive a Holocaust. If you lose meaning, then you've lost everything. So those in the concentration camps who were determined to survive didn't. Those who had a reason to survive did. And what is a reason? A reason means a purpose. The young people who had to take care of their father, they survived. The person who saw some meaning while he was there, he was a doctor, he was an advisor, he was the rabbi, they survived. Those who just wanted to survive without a reason, without a purpose, didn't do so well. Here's a quick example of what logotherapy does. Logotherapy is Viktor Frankl's form of... A guy comes to the therapist. He's an old, elderly guy. His wife just passed away, and he can't handle it. The therapist says to him, "Yeah, it's terrible to be all alone after all these years. Wouldn't it have been better if you had died first and you wouldn't have to suffer this loneliness?" And the guy said, "Oh, no. No, my wife was very dependent on me. For her to be alone would have been terrible." And all of a sudden, he was fine. He saw a reason, he saw a purpose, he saw something positive about the fact that he didn't leave his wife by herself. And now he could handle it. Same pain, the same loneliness, but he can handle it because he sees a purpose. Now, the reason we have such a deep need for being needed is because we are. God creates each of us out of need. So we are a needed being. That's our very core. That's our essence. We exist because of a need. His need. God's need. So we are essentially needed, purposeful beings. And when we don't know what that need is, it makes us crazy. We need to be needed much more than we need to be loved. I mean, imagine parents saying to their child, "We don't need you." As comedian says, "My father used to say to me, if you misbehave, I'll take you out. Because I brought you into the world, I can take you out. And it doesn't matter to me because I'll make another one just like you." So I don't need you. Behave yourself and I'll tolerate you. Imagine parents saying to children, "We don't need you, but you're so cute, we love you. That is a bad message. And the child will rebel. You ready for something really futuristic? All of history, everything human beings ever accomplished came from need. Right? Need is the mother of, what is the expression? Necessity is the mother of invention. Everything we did because we needed. A farmer gets up early in the morning because, you have to. You have to get the seeds in on time. You have to harvest on time. Otherwise, we're going to starve. You have to milk the cow. You have to get the eggs. You have to. So you do. The farmer wakes up his son, his daughter. Get up. We got chores to do. So they do. This has been the fact of life for 5,782 years at least. You gotta do what you gotta do. You have needs, and if you're a responsible human being, you see to those needs. Survival is the ultimate need, but it brings a lot of other needs with it. You got to get up early. Why? Because you got to work the fields. Why? Because you got to produce a harvest. Why? Because you have to have what to eat. Why? Because if you don't eat, you'll starve. Yeah, and then you'll die. If you want to sum up all of history, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but not much. All of history was one thought, a single-minded motivation. I don't want to die. That's it. Something is happening in the world today because we are so close to Mashiach. Something is shifting, something is changing. Today, threatening a person with death doesn't work. Hey, if you don't do that, you're going to die. Yeah, so what's your point? Remember Mrs. Reagan came out with a campaign, Just Say No to drugs? It was a total failure. Because you came to young people and you said, just say no. And they said, why? Well, because, it'll mess with your head, your brain will melt, and you'll die. And it made no impression. And it's getting more and more popular, more and more common. 11-year-olds. I heard from an 11-year-old. I don't have to clean my room. I didn't ask to be born. Universal. It's everywhere in the world. And that's part of what we're panicking about. Because if you can't motivate a person by threatening him with death, you can't motivate at all. We don't know any other way. If you're not afraid to die, you're invulnerable. So what should a parent say when a child says, I didn't ask to be born? Don't put your kid on medication. Just admit that he's right. And if your child says, I didn't ask to be born, just say, neither did I. Who asks to be born? Nobody. And we don't ask to be born because we don't need to be born. Is that scary? Does that sound fatalistic? Nobody asks to be born. Never heard anyone complain that they weren't born. In fact, there was this guy in India, I'm sure you heard about it, 27-year-old guy, took his parents to court, sued them. He wanted them to pay all his bills for the rest of his life because they gave birth to him without his consent. Sounds funny? But think about it for a minute. Wait a minute. You bring me into this world without my consent, and now I have to go to school? I have to pay bills, my mortgage, my taxes? No way. You brought me into this world. You pay the bills. Doesn't that make sense? It's like you can't invite me to an expensive restaurant and then tell me to pay the bill. They threw it at a court. I'm not sure why. I'm guessing that in defense, the parents said, we were born without our consent too, so what do you want from me? Complain to grandma. And they went to grandma, and grandma said, I didn't ask to be born. Nobody asks to be born. Because we don't need to be born. We don't need to live. That is not scary. That is liberating. Because we have so many needs that we are crushed by the weight of it. In the olden days, it was simple. Do or die. You got to make food, otherwise you die. You got to protect yourself from the enemy or from the dinosaurs, or you'll die. Okay, it was very simple, very clear. So the farmer wakes up his kid at 4 o'clock in the morning and says, come on, we got to get the field done. We got to get the plowing done. Why? Because winter is coming and we're going to starve. Okay, the kid gets up. What do you say to a kid today? Wake up, you're going to miss the bus. Why do I have to get on the bus? Well, you got to get to school. Why do I have to get to school? Well, because you got to get a good grade. Why do I have to get a good grade? Well, to get into a good high school. Why do I need to go to high school? Well, to get into a college. Why do I need to go to college? Get a good job. Why do I need a job? Well, because you need to make some money. Well, why do I need to make money? Well, because you got to buy a house. How are you going to pay for it? So why do I need a house? Well, if you don't have a house, where are you going to live? In the streets? That's dangerous. You could die. Do you see how far you have to go before death comes in? And besides, if I live on the streets, I'm not going to die. There's welfare. So today, how ridiculous is it to wake up your child and say, get on the bus? Why? Because if you don't, you're going to die. Today it sounds ridiculous. So all these needs, I got to get a good grade, I got to get to college, I got to get a job, got to pay bills, got to have a mortgage, You know something? I don't need any of that. I really don't need it. Apply this to religion. The religious grandfather wakes up his grandson and he says, get up, you have to get to the minyan on time. He says, I have to get to a minyan? I thought about it and I don't need to. No, you must. You have to get to the... No, I don't need to. But you got to keep Shabbos. I don't need to keep Shabbos. You got to keep kosher. I don't need to keep kosher. Here, watch. Watch me not keep kosher, and I'm fine. I don't need to keep kosher. And the grandfather says, you do, you have to, you must. Eventually, why must I? Oh, because you're going to go to hell. eventually it becomes a threat. And you know what a threat means? It means you've run out of arguments. So you really don't know why I have to keep kosher. That's why you're threatening me with damnation. So I've won the argument. The scary thing is that the grandchild is right. A little illustration. A boy leaves New York, goes to France to the yeshiva. The dean of the yeshiva there, the mashpia, is a very tough, otherworldly kind of guy. And he doesn't tolerate nonsense. The boy arrives, goes into the office, and says, I have to call my mother. Which phone can I use? This was when phones were stuck on the wall. He says, I need to call my mother. Which phone can I use? The mashpia, the dean, says, I need to call my mother. And the boy was shocked, like, what are you, mocking me? He says, I need to call my mother. And the dean again says, I need to call my mother. And the boy caught on. And he said, my mother needs me to call her. Which phone can I use? And the dean said, now you're talking. That's your first lesson. A teenage boy does not need to call his mother. Never happened in history. Unless he needed money. Teenage boys don't need to call their mother. But is the mother waiting at the phone to hear from her son? Yes. So why would you say you need to call your mother when the truth is your mother needs you to call her? And what is the difference? It's a world of difference. You need to call your mother, so go find a phone. Your mother needs you to call her, I'll help you. Huge difference. You need, there's nothing noble about that. Your mother needs, and you're going to call because your mother needs? You're a good boy, I'll help you out. The same is true with life itself. I need to put on tefillin. If I ever meet a guy who says, I need to put on tefillin, I would recommend therapy. That is a weird fetish. You need to put leather boxes on your head? Come on, get some therapy. God needs you to put on the tefillin. Oh, in that case, I'll help you. Here's your tefillin. How did we plagiarize? How did we steal God's need and call it our own? It's so wrong. The future of all psychology is that we have no needs. Because what's happening is our needs are destroying us. We can't handle it anymore. I have so many needs that I'm depressed. I wake up in the morning and it's just too much. Emotional needs, practical needs, financial needs, social needs. I need somebody to love me, to compliment me, to protect me, to teach me, to challenge me. And then I got to pay for it. Too many needs. So I go for therapy. I need some relief. So I go for therapy. And I say to the therapist, too many needs. I can't handle it. I'm overburdened. In effect, what does the therapist say? You have no idea what kind of needs you have. Let me tell you the needs you haven't even thought of yet. You need to overcome the fact that your mother never wanted to have you. How's that for a need? And you have a deep-seated hatred for your brother because you've always been competing with him and he's the favorite in the family. Thank you very much. Now I have more needs than I came with. Like Jackie Mason says, this is not the real you. You have to find the real you. Well, what if you are the real me? Why don't you come looking for me? So we come away with more needs than we had before. So in desperation, we turn to religion. Maybe religion can give me some relief, some comfort. So you go to religion, and what do you find out? You think you have needs in this world? Boy, wait till you die. Your needs are just beginning. You say, okay, this is too much. The Torah told us 3,000 years ago at Mount Sinai, you don't need, you're a human being. Human beings don't need anything. The therapist should go a little further. Just under the surface, we have more needs, under-surface needs. But go a little deeper than that. You have no needs. None. Because you didn't need to be born. Who has needs? Only a creator. If you create a universe, you obviously have a need. You're after something. But when you're the guest, you're the creation, you don't have any needs. Oh, what? If you don't do this, you'll die. Yeah. So, this is the future of psychology. When you're convinced that you have needs, you go to a therapist who will reveal to you that you have no needs. Remember Mad Magazine? What, me worry? I got no worries. It's not my world. I didn't ask to be born. I don't need to be born. So what am I doing here? If I don't need to be here, and yet I am here, come on, logical conclusion. I don't need to be here, but I'm here, which means I'm not here out of my need. Somebody needs me to be, and so I am. What's the next question? Who needs me for what? That's all I need to know. If I know who needs me and what he needs from me, I'm in heaven. Because I have no needs, but I am needed. You hear that? The entire mystery of life comes down to a simple question. Would you rather be needy or needed? Those are the options. That's it. If you choose to be needy, you will be depressed for the rest of your life, more or less. Because to be needy is unnatural. If you don't need to be born, why do you need to eat? In order not to die. Well, people have had it with that. I will not live my life in order to not die. That's circular reasoning. It makes no sense. You have to live. Why? Because otherwise you'll die. That's not logical. So when this boy said, the chaplain was here and he said something stupid. This is the future. If I am not needed, I quit because I don't need this. But to be needed, wow. That's everything. So we wake up in the morning and we thank God for returning our soul to us. Another day of life. What are we thanking God for? For needing us, not for loving us. Love has become the idol. It's the God of America. Everything is love. Love is the solution to everything. More love and the world will be perfect. No, it won't. Love will not make up for the fact that you don't feel needed. So if you're needed but not loved, you will function. If you are loved but not needed, you can't function. Isn't that amazing? Let's get down to real practical. I need to eat. If you said that to the dean of the yeshiva in France, you need to eat. No, you don't. Well, if I don't eat, I'll die. So? There was a famous story about two Chassidim in Russia, true story. We actually know their names. They were great friends, and they were getting old, and one of them was literally passing away. And he said to his friend, is there a minyan? Can you get 10 people together? Because it's good to have a minyan when you die, when your soul leaves. And his friend said to him, oh my God, he says, you lived your whole life being arrogant. You have to die arrogant also? You need a minyan. Die quietly and don't make a tumult. You know? Death doesn't threaten. Death is not a threat. So we're going now into the high holidays. Our teacher who taught us Hasidus, who made human beings out of us, he would say, people cry on Yom Kippur, on Rosh Hashanah, when they come to the part in the prayer where it says that today God decides who lives and who dies. And people get emotional and they cry. He says, what is with these people? That's what you cry about. If you die, you die. Don't make a tumult. What you should cry about is the other part of the davening, where we pray that the whole world should recognize its creator, that every created being should know who created it, and every formed being should know who formed it. That you should cry about, because that's our purpose. That's what we are needed for. So it comes down to a very simple thing. An atheist is committing suicide. Because if you're an atheist, it means you don't believe that you are needed. You don't believe that you're necessary. But you love what you're doing, so you'll continue doing it. It's a slow suicide. The person who says, I need to eat, he's going to get depressed. Because it's not true. The reason we're so uncomfortable with our needs is because they're not ours. I don't need to eat. I need to stop eating. But I can't. Did I ask for this? If I designed myself, would I make myself dependent on vegetables? It's embarrassing. If I designed myself, would I need to sleep? Half my life away? No, these are not my needs. God didn't ask me. He created me the way He needs me to be. So He needs me to eat. I don't need to eat. Well, you want to die? What's with the threat? Stop threatening me. I don't live to avoid threats. Isn't that amazing? We are so much more than we thought we were. We were always told, you're so dependent, you're so weak, You're so fragile. Your life is so brief. And if God is not going to help you, you're in real trouble. So get down on your knees and beg and plead with God. Promise him you'll be good, because then maybe he'll let you live. Hey, what a depressing picture. Chassidus says that is not how you celebrate Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Oh, please don't kill me. I want to live. What are you, paranoid? You're not going to die. You're healthy. You're fine. So why is it the days of awe? The days of awe means God is going to give me another year of life, which means he needs me. I don't want to disappoint him. That's what Rosh Hashanah is about. Not, oh, please don't kill me. That's morbid. This is the choice. You can buy this message that you are needy, dependent, and be depressed about it. Or you can celebrate the fact that you are needed. You're needed by your community. You're needed by your family. You're needed by the Creator himself. Now that's Judaism. It's not even a religion. That's Judaism. That's Torah. That's God revealing his needs at Mount Sinai. Which is why our ancestors didn't even ask, what are the commandments? What do we need to do? They said yes. Because they heard God say, I need you. They said yes. I got nothing else to do. So when God calls Avraham, Avraham says, Hineni. What does that mean? Huh? I'm here. God knows he's there. He's talking to him. Hineni means I'm available because I got no needs. So you need something? Hey, tell me. I'm available. I'm unemployed. So if you need something from me, hey, I'm here. I got nothing else to do. So thank you for needing me. It's a double blessing. To realize I don't need. What a relief. You can breathe. On the other hand, if you don't need to be here, why are you here? I am needed, indispensable to God's plan. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. It is the biggest blessing, the ultimate blessing. And this is the preparation for Mashiach. What's going to happen? Mashiach is going to come and everyone will be good. What kind of fantasy is that? Mashiach will come and make everything good. That's worse than Santa Claus. I know about Santa Claus. I go to South America before COVID. I used to go to South America a lot. Almost every country there for speaking, And I should know a little Spanish by now, but I don't. Just 2 words I remember from Spanish. Papa Noel. Because wherever I go, that's what the kids say. They say, oh, Papa Noel. I thought that meant there's the rabbi. Mashiach is going to come and everything will be good. Come on, grow up. Mashiach will come because we will realize that we have no needs. The rest is easy. If we could all wake up in the morning, all human beings, wake up in the morning and say, Who needs me? That's it. Mashiach comes in with the answer, and the world is perfect. It's not a fantasy. It's an inevitability. It's inevitable that we get over the threat. Oh, you want to die? Okay, stop. It's not working anymore. Either I'm necessary or I don't care. Now we're ready for Mashiach. Mashiach will come and reveal to us how much God needs us. Then we have a perfect world. If my needs are not important to me, I can actually consider your needs. You need something? I'll help you out, because I got no needs. Isn't that a beautiful world? This is the future. It's hard to imagine, but if you give it a little thought, it intuitively sounds so correct. You have to wonder, what took us so long? The threat of death was so effective for 5,000 years? Boy, are we slow. We're not living under a threat. We live for an awesome opportunity to do what the Creator needs, because needing is divine. Only a Creator has a need. So if you say, I need to eat, think of what the mashpia, the dean in the yeshiva would say to that. Oh, you need to eat. No, you don't. You were created with the need, because the Creator needs you to eat. Open up the book and find out why He needs you to eat. Then you will eat for heavenly purpose. That would be a good world. That would be the world that God envisioned when He first created it. And we will be His partners in making that a reality. So, are you going to be needy? Or are you going to be thrilled to be needed? That's it. That's your message to the world. It's a good message. Atheists are killing themselves. Not because they deny God. They deny their own neededness. And if you're not needed, you've got no justification for living. Make sense?
The Rohr Jewish Learning Institute has the largest collection of Jewish media online. Hit subscribe for more.